Hi, this is Carmel with the Financial Tea, where we talk about all things money, not people, unless it's about our money. So today's topic I want to talk to you guys about is leave passing away and leaving our children and our loved ones with worthless assets. Okay, so I want to read to you guys two posts where basically I came across these posts recently, and basically it's the same situation that's going on. One post, it was by a gentleman who said, how many people's parents or grandparents paid for life insurance their whole lives, but when they passed away, there was no money. And then the second post, it said it was from a woman who basically said, my father passed away and I'm inheriting his house. I live in Florida. I found out today that the mortgage has not been paid since January. It's a beautiful home that I would hate to lose to foreclosure. The mortgage company has not given me any sort of options other than to pay the past due amount. The balance on the loan is fairly high, so I don't think that there would be much of a profit if it were to be sold. All right? So, my question to you guys is, how does that happen? Like, how do you pay? Well, and it's not a question, I'm about to answer it too. How do you pay for life insurance the whole life, and then when you pass on, there's no money in your life insurance? Are we saying that the life insurance company are scamming people? Absolutely not. The answer to this is because of the fact that a lot of people don't understand this. A lot of these insurance policies actually come with clauses in there where basically you can withdraw from the money because they actually build some sort of cash value, especially if we're talking about the whole life insurance policies. And so a lot of times you can turn around and withdraw some of the money from that. But the point is that if you withdraw, then what do you think you have to do with that money eventually? Put it back. If you don't put it back, then what eventually happens is by the time you pass on, then you basically, in essence, had a worthless policy. So when somebody goes to claim your insurance policy, there's no more money left in there. Not only that, and a lot of people don't realize this, even with some term life policies, they come with, a lot of times now come with these clauses where if you get sick, you're disabled, you lose a job, you have to go on maternity leave, the list goes on and on and on and on. Sometimes you can go ahead and request sort of like an advance from your policy. And so what happens is that if that happens, and again, you've never put the money back, then what eventually happens is that when you pass on, there's no money left to go pay your dependents. And what's worse, let's say if you had a $250,000 policy, that advance may cover 125,000, but then there's some clauses in there that if you take that 125, that's all you're going to get. You're not entitled to the full 250. So a lot of times people have to read the policies in which they're signing on. And that you have to understand that when you take out a mortgage policy, you're not taking people, and this is the biggest, I think, misconception a lot of people have today. People's first big problem that was going on in the black community, I use the black community all the time, not because I'm trying to dog us, but because I'm trying to uplift us and educate us, okay? There used to be a point in time where we were just tired of, hey, somebody passed, hey, start a GoFundMe for them. No, GoFundMes are not life insurance policies, right? So we understand that, and I'm so happy to see more and more of us actually moving over that hump. But the next big hurdle it comes to is what exactly is the purpose of life insurance? Life insurance are not wealth building policies. Contrary to what people think, and contrary to what happened in the past, they are not wealth building policies. All right? The whole purpose of life insurance is simply to make sure that those who depend on you, this is the mindset that we have to have, that those who depend on you, whether it's your children, whether it's your spouse, because a lot of times when two spouses have two incomes that come together and take care of the family finances. So if one of them abruptly pass away, then of course the one person is going to be left hanging with all of that, and a lot of times they can't make ends meet, and that's where the trouble starts. So with that in mind, you want to make sure that your policies cover your spouse, it covers your children in the event of your untimely passing, that in the end that they're able to go ahead and still continue on in your absence. So children, if they need to go to college, make sure that's included in your life insurance policy. If they need to go ahead and have a place to live, or pay, make sure that the mortgages continue to pay it off in your policy, make sure that they have that included in the policy, etc. If the cars that they're driving still have a note on it, they need that to get around, make sure that's included in the policy. That is simply, and then of course burial. Okay, so make sure these things are included in your policy. All right. If you have grown children who are not dependent on you in any way, shape, or form, then do you really need to spend life? I have a big old life insurance policy. No, you want to make sure there's something maybe to cover your burial. Maybe if you want to leave a little something to the family members, fine. But other than that, you don't need a big old policy. The point that I'm trying to make is that life insurance is not a wealth building policy. Why do I say that? Because in the end, back in the day, even 20, 30 years ago, people did use it as such. If grandma passed away, she left them with a big old life insurance policy, 200, 300,000, $500,000, a million. Some people do that, $1 million policy. And so when they pass away, boom, all of a sudden the people who inherited, are instantly well off. They're going to be well off. Understandable. But you have to understand, back then, the times today are so different. People's spending habits have truthfully gotten out of control. We spend like there's no tomorrow. Well, we're going on fancy vacations all the time. We're upgrading our homes and our cars all the time. People are sending their children to private schools and schools that cost lots of money all the time. And so when you factor in all of this spending that's going on, even the cost of college, etc., has gone up astronomically and well outpaces the rate of inflation and the pay increases that are supposed to happen every year. It's well outpaced that. So the point I'm trying to say is that people have these reasons why they're turning around and they're spending, and then what eventually happens when hard times fall, what are they doing? They're pulling out of their life insurance policies. They're pulling out of their mortgage equities. And so when you do things like that, when you're pulling that money out, then what's going to happen is that when you pass on, these things that you set up to go ahead and take care of your loved ones are not doing their job, and that's what we're seeing an increase of. I can't tell you how many people posted on those posts that I read to you earlier. How many people said that they literally are going through the same thing or did go through the same thing. So many people, and this is the reason why. So what do I say? That in the end, life insurance should not be a wealth building tool. It should be a part of it. So any responsible person, especially your parent, your spouse, you want to make sure that you have a policy, etc., and that you're, like I said, you're using it to do its job. But other than that, what you should be doing is focusing on building real wealth. We're talking about wealth that is not attached to a life insurance policy. Let me talk about the mortgage situation that the young woman talked about. Two possible reasons why that could have happened. One is reverse mortgages. Reverse mortgages are becoming extremely common these days. And I'm telling you that they're bad things. What happens is that anytime there's a need that's going on in society, some greedy, predatory people, aka the banks, are going to come up with a plan to see how they can go ahead and capitalize on. And that's exactly what they did. So what is a reverse mortgage? It's basically, how with older people, you've now owned your home for 30 years, 40 years, 50 years, etc. So basically all of your mortgage is paid off, or most of your mortgage is paid off. And so what eventually happens is that the mortgage company recognize, well, older people, seniors tend to not have, they tend to be living on a fixed income. They tend to be living on just Social Security. They don't have much of a pension or savings or whatever else. And so money is very tight with them. They're not working, etc. So what do? They turn around and say, hey, seniors, you've got all of this equity in your home. So all you got to do is take out, basically, in essence, a loan, take out this money from your home, the equity that's in your home, and in the end, you pay it back, and eventually you'll be fine. But what do you think happens? Most of the seniors are not going to be in a position to pay it back, which is fine. The bank is just knowing that in the end, as the seniors turn around and start drawing up more and more and more money out of their homes, from the equity of their homes, if they can't pay it back, then that means when they pass, then what's going to happen is now going to go to the heirs, but the heirs are going to have to do what? Pay it back. So if the heirs can't pay it back, and then you're talking about you had a $200,000 or $300,000 property, and now you had a reverse mortgage for even $50,000 in it, and then mom or dad or grandma or grandpa didn't pay it back, and then now you as the heir have to go pay back that $50,000 before you even want to think about keeping the home. You may not have that kind of money, and then it's a shame because it's a $200,000 $300,000 home, so technically it's still a steal. But in the end, most people are like, that's a debt that I was not even factoring or including for. I don't really want the home anyway. What do? They let the home go. And so now it becomes a scam, in essence, on the bank, where they basically now got to go ahead and get a very cheap property. They turn around and they flip it, put it back on the market, make a few bucks, and call it a day. And so this is why you don't want to do that. It's happening literally over and over. I've known people personally who's lost their homes. We're talking about the heirs, lost their homes through reverse mortgages. You don't want to leave your heirs in that position. If you worked hard all your life and you want to make sure that your loved ones are going to be set up when you're done, the best way to ensure that that happens is to make sure that the place that you live and your life insurance policies are literally dedicated towards what their sole purposes are for when you die, to take care of your loved ones, simply that. And your home is for you to live in. Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad Poor Dad, I know a lot of people are mad at him right now, but nonetheless, he specifically said if your home is your biggest asset, then you are in trouble. And that is absolutely true. So we understand real estate is a powerful wealth building tool, but understand that your home is not part of that real estate because you're living in it. And as long as you're living in it, there's not much. Now, there are some for people who are very savvy, but there's not much of an asset that can be had, of you making money that can be had while you're still living in the home. There are some methods, but that's something totally different. For the most part, leave it for you living there. If you want to get into real estate investing, that's something totally different, and that is a very powerful wealth building tool. I primarily focus on investing and through stocks and long term investing. That is another powerful wealth building tool. Starting your own business is a very powerful wealth building tool. Not to say all businesses are successful, most businesses are not, and it's a hell of a lot of work. I promise you that. But if you get your business to the point where it's extremely profitable, you're turning around and you've structured it in a way in which you've got all your books in order, your taxes in order, etc. Your how you actually your organization in order when it comes to your business. When you pass on, literally, you can pass down your business to your children, and so you're not leaving them something worthless, but something actually very valuable. So these are things that you can do. You can leave investment property. You can leave stocks. You can leave businesses. You cannot, when it comes to life insurance, let life insurance be what it's supposed to be. So this message, I just want to stress to you, you don't want to get into the position where you're leaving your children and your loved ones with worthless assets. So my question to you is, what are you doing now in your life, in your prime years? What are you doing now to make sure that you leave your children, your heirs, your grandchildren, you set them up financially well? Okay? If you found this video helpful, please, I encourage you to share it, and please subscribe to my channel. Thank you. Have a nice day.